Bonsai. We are out of the water, back in the house. You're gonna hear dogs barking. It's Halloween. There's trick-or-treaters. It's a noisy chaos. So a lot of things going on at Bass and Bonsai. Before I jump into all this, I have moved and I am moving again. So yeah, I got all that going on. But back to never stop fishing though, right? And we got some little trick or treats. Yeah, I tripped the kid walking by earlier. Got a few little goodies already. It's awesome. These are probably my favorite thing, period. These used to be, but that white chocolate, you guys comment. What's your favorite Halloween snack treat? Hard to beat a Snickers, right? Yeah. They make these things all different sizes now. They got these little bite-sized ones that are even smaller. This little fun, oh, it's a fun size. Yeah. That's what they call it. Okay. Let's jump right into it. Baits that did and didn't work this weekend went on because I also wanted to do this one. I didn't have time last night. Sunday nights tend to get busy. So I might end up just doing these a Monday night deal, the weekend wrap-up deal. I haven't decided yet. I've got a video. I just edited some footage from the weekend to throw that out there also on Monday. I'm going to try to do that also and give a little more talk in depth about the baits, and you'll be able to see just a quick little clips because I'm actually a couple weeks behind on editing videos, roughly. Almost 2 weeks behind, like a week behind. So let's jump right into it. You guys saw the live on the boat, Reese's in the woods, Snickers. Oh, somebody's got a little method to their madness with the sweets. I get it. So you guys witnessed, I went out and I actually caught a carp on these Slobber Knocker knockoffs, right? Did a live stream. I took them out this week, fished them, and I fished them some more. And then I don't know how much footage you will see in the videos coming up. And we're going to call them the Halloween weekend videos that have taken place this last week since today's Halloween. I didn't catch any bass on, and these are the two I tried at various times. I did not catch a bass. I don't think I caught a bass on any one of these. I may have caught one. But I don't like how they don't vibrate as hard as like a jackhammer or the Z-Man original or any of the AliExpress knockoffs of those two baits, right? Of the jackhammer, Jackie Hammer. And I have not tried a new Slobber Knocker. I'm almost betting that the new Slobber Knocker has a little more give than that, but maybe not. But Matt didn't like them either. Charles tried them. He's like, yeah, there's just not a lot of... There's still the resistance because this blade's actually almost coming flatter. So in a sense, it feels like it's a harder reel. And I don't know, it feels like you got to reel it faster to make it, give it any kind of chatter. But the chatter it's not as intense as a jackhammer. I guess I could see times possibly when, if a chatterbait's a little off and you might want to go with an underspin or a spinnerbait or something, that maybe these could work. But I bought 4 of them. I will not be buying any more unless I come across to figure something out. If you guys remember right when I got the little micros, they sat in my box for a long time before I realized to just take off the skirt and run them bare. So that's a possibility. Those may be good for something like that. I don't know yet. I've only bought 4. I do not plan on buying any more as of right now. The Slobber Knocker knockoffs anyway, or a no for me. So let's go with the Googan, right? I have so many of these, I will not be buying any more until I wear through half of my arsenal of the Googan buzzbaits. And I know you guys are getting tired of hearing about them, but I'm going to tell you one last little thing on these buzzbaits. I didn't really show you in the video about how to tune them because I kind of figured it out. And I know I'm slow. Some of you guys that I guess are more throwing buzzbaits heavily than I am, because I'll be honest, me and Matt were talking about this. The buzzbait completely left my arsenal. I had it in the box, but I didn't throw it for probably 2 years because I was throwing the Whopper Plopper. You guys remember when the Whopper Plopper came out? That was game on for like 2 years. If they were hitting topwater, they would smash the Whopper Plopper. So, and between that and the popper, the Pop Max, like I've talked about, if I wanted to slow down, I threw Pop Max or the Pop X, and then just in general, where I normally would have used the buzzbait, I used a Whopper Plopper, and then where the Whopper Plopper wouldn't go, I used the Frog, the Booyah Pop and Pad Crasher. Things have changed. I know we got the Leapfrogs from Z-Man now. We're kind of starting last maybe 2 years now, getting back into the buzzbaits. I still feel the buzzbaits aren't as good as they used to be back in the day. There's still the time that they do work. So you guys heard me doing these Googan baits, all of them, every one. I bought 6. They gave me 6 more. Those sets were the same way. So all 12, and I think one of them that came from Tackle Warehouse, that was from Carl's, and one of the 3/8 ounces from Tackle Warehouse was bent too, to where they just all pulled what I call left coming at me, but they basically were pulling to their right, but to my left. Everyone, right out of the package, everyone had that. So I had a couple videos showing you want all of those wires like perfectly straight this way, everything in line, straight as it can go, then see what it does, then tweak on it. If it's whatever way it's pulling, if it's pulling that way, you bend the back that way, in a sense, you're turning the blade to aim this way to compensate for that. So what I also found was one thing that helps big time immensely on a buzz bait that's running weird, is get that blade further up and get this bait, in a sense, you're getting it deeper down, like say your rudder or whatever on the boat, to use it like in comparison. The deeper it's going to get down there, it kind of holds the bait a little steadier, right? So these Googans were coming with this bent crazy down here, and they were tweaked out enough in the arm here that they were insanely horrible. So the first thing I did was I bent them all straight, and then I actually was tweaking from here. I was bending this part up because the one I looked at Matt's, that's where it was, but his has just, I think, naturally gotten that way over time of use. Well, I found a little trick that a lot of you guys are probably like, duh, I already knew that. I didn't really know this because it's been a few years since I really was into buzzbait. I mean, I've thrown buzzbaits for years. But to get them the best, you actually don't want to, and this one actually may be bent the wrong way. You want your bend, is what I found with these Googans anyway, and I haven't really tried on any other ones. To get this bent up, you actually want the bend to come down here, if that makes sense. So you could still have this at a 90, but then you don't want this at a 90 because you want some separation there. So you actually want the bend to take place down here, not up here. It can go up there too a little, but I found they run better, and these make a better clacking noise for whatever reason if the bend comes like that. I don't know what it has to do with that being a 90 at that or whatever, but that's one little tweak that I started playing with this weekend, and they definitely were like way better. And it's amazing when these things do pull almost dead straight at you, they just increase in everything picks up on the sound of that prop going through the water. You can almost feel a little more resistance coming in towards you, which means you can go slower and it'll stay up as high, which will let you go a little slower, and it makes it just a little louder. I don't know, maybe even the bubble trails and the squeaking is intensified with just when you get them pretty straight and you get that thing riding up pretty far by bending it down here, not up here. When I was bending them up here, because I had a few of them, this was bent like crazy down, and so I bent it crazy up here, and man, those did horrible. Those were not doing good. So anyway, these work awesome once you get that. If you got a good one out of the package, or you're capable and are listening to what I say and tweak them. Don't throw them in the trash. If you bought one or two, or any buzzbait, if you have a buzzbait, man, that thing just runs horribly. Just follow what I talked about on the Googans, and it will steer you in the right direction on getting them going. So you guys know I got to talk about the chatterbaits to some extent. So we're going to talk about this chatterbait, but not yet. Let's talk about the bait that stole the show both days, Saturday and Sunday. Basically this setup here, either one of these, same jig with different trailers. So you guys have seen me and heard me talking about this forever, last couple months. And Jay, I say forever because I've thrown jigs for a long time, and I've owned this jig probably for a couple years before I just brought it out of the box and started throwing it, because I had so good luck, just like I talked about the Whopper Plopper. I had such good luck with shaky heads. Why throw anything else on a bottom bouncing anything? Because the shaky head for a couple years is just tearing it up, and it still does. It's still working, but I just kind of got into, you know, maybe searching for a little bit bigger fish, and typically these can bring you that. They haven't really as of yet until this weekend, but they do get numbers and all that. And really this Baby Rage Menace is what I think picked up on my jig game as far as something that kicks just a little, like a subtle kick, not a lot of resistance in the water. You can use these little jigs. You can still kind of swim them, bounce them off the bottom. They're just all in one cast. You can do so much with these little finesse jigs. You can do it with the big jig also, but the littler jig will get bit more often, but still can get that big hit. So the only downside to this is the Baby Rage Menace. And it's not the Baby Rage Menace, no knock on Strike King. All your soft plastics other than Z-Man, typically 3 to 5 fish, that's gone. Or it gets loose enough, it keeps falling, and it keeps, you know, you just have to, really you need to put a new one on. And they're roughly 50 cents a piece or whatever they are. So you can go through quite a few, you get on a good bite. And I do try to take mine, you know, I'll peel them off when they look funky, and I'll take them home. I'll even super glue them, try to reuse them and all that. I know, right? Just throw them away and get a new one. I know. Something about soft plastics and how fast they wear out just has always annoyed me. That's why I tried, that's like Reaction Innovations, the Sweet Beaver. That's why I don't use that bait. That bait is horrible for getting much, like you'll go through 2 packs, on a decent bite, you'll go through 2 packs a day for sure, 100%. Now if I was tournament fisherman, maybe, you know, Matt uses the spicy beaver. I don't think I've ever even tried the spicy beavers, but the same thing with the Key Tech, the crazy flappers. I love those little baits. Those things are horrible about staying on. So, you know me, I decided to tweak on, and I cut down a goat. And once I rigged it up, and then I got the confidence that, and I wish they made the goat in this color, but this one, once I start throwing them side by side, and I think just that jig has enough blue in it, and then the blue speckle, I really couldn't tell the difference. This was getting bit as good as this one, and this one caught the big bass, as you'll see in this video coming out tonight. So hopefully you'll, you know, watch it, be looking out for it. It's got some craziness in it, yeah. Luck of bananas on both days, and not luck, and I threw my favorite rod and reel in the water. Yeah, I'm telling you, watch that video. It's insane. So I tweaked on one of these, and you guys have seen me, I had already tweaked on them to get them to the way I like them on a chatterbait, and I just thinned them down. I didn't shorten them. Really, all I did was I thinned it down and I shortened it. I think I took off 2 of the appendage of, I don't even know what you call those, but where they're, you know, the sections, I think I cut off just the top 2 sections to get it shorter. And I was going to, but I decided not to, and I didn't cut the legs. I think you want that. You're working it slower. You know, the chatterbait's kind of coming through the water, you're pulling it faster. So I left them alone is the only difference. So slim it down like you would on the chatterbait, like you've seen me do it on that. And then cut off the first 2, or just, you know, measure it whatever you think on whatever size jig you're putting it on, because it should work the same way on any jig you're wanting to use. And if you're wanting to look like more like a fish than a craw, just turn it sideways. Once you've got it kind of cut down and rounded, just flip it sideways to where it's more like this, and it'll give a slight more look like a fish. I don't really know if it matters, but it will. And then they've got the different color ones in the goats. So now hopefully what I have is I've got pretty much a trailer for all my jigs, whether a bladed jig, a regular finesse jig, or whatever jig. And we're good to go. Because that sucker, I rigged one up on Saturday, started catching fish, gave it to Maddie. She started catching fish. And then, because I think it actually started the week before that, when me, Matt, and Hannah were out. And I think we were on a very tough bite, but this is the one we finally started catching some fish on the end, was this right here. Come back the next week, bite was not as tough, but you know, it wasn't the greatest, so I just went back to that, and sure enough, it kicked right back in. And then gave one to Maddie, worked good, went fishing with Charles the next day. It was a good bite when I was with Charles. You'll see, it was like rainy, nasty, totally different conditions than the day before. But it was still like, it was like you needed that something, you know, it was almost that, like you catch a couple fish and it seemed like you'd go 10, 20 minutes without a bite. So once I rigged up, I threw this, it was game on again. And then, you know, me in my testing mode, I'm like, well, I'm going to rig one up before we leave You know, so about halfway through the day, I rigged this up and started throwing it, and went, okay, yeah, it seemed to get the same amount of bites as that one. And then, as you'll see in the video, towards the end, it pulled in almost the big bass of the day. I thought it was a big bass of the day. The big bass of the day actually come on a jerkbait, as you'll see in the video. But what's funny is Matt had caught him on jerkbait the day before. Just little dinks, but here, you know, that was one of his better baits. I threw the jerkbait for like 4 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. Caught a giant. Threw it again for another hour, caught one little dink, and then just put it up. Went, nope. That it just was luck of the draw, I guess. I just happened to get that one big one on the jerkbait, and then the jerkbait bite really wasn't on yet at that body of water. Water was warm. It was almost 60 degrees. Should have been jerkbait. Coulda, woulda, shoulda, but it wasn't. So then I was throwing my black and blue, where's it at? Black and blue gold blade, because as awesome, and this just goes to show you, sometimes that color isn't as big a deal. And I didn't even see this bait. I should have thrown it. Where is my black and blue gold blade? I don't even know now. Well, hang on. What did I do with it? Here it is. So you know I've got a bunch of different black and blues kind of made up, rigged up, but there's the one that I pretty much have been throwing and I working real good. That's a knockoff 3/8 ounce with the gold blade I put on it. With this is the exact trailer off of it. I pulled it off it because I was throwing that as good as these were doing, tearing up fish. I could not catch a fish on the black and blue with that gold blade with this trailer. So I just kind of, first one I grabbed was actually the jackhammer, but I've got a few others rigged up, one with gold blade, one with not. But I think the little more blue, if you guys see, I think what the difference was, not even really the blade color, I think the blue, they were just on that more of a blue. And I don't know how many of you guys watch from Average Joe's Fishing Club, if you know Van always has these, like almost 2 intense for me, blue chatterbaits that he's always raving about. And I've never thrown a chatterbait with more blue than a few of these, which is not quite maybe, or about half blue to the black. But I think Van has some that are all blue, and there may be something to that, just throwing all blue, you know, maybe with a black head or something, because that sucker, I don't think I got a fish on this one. And I caught, not a ton, the bite didn't really kick on, but I started catching them. And then I think I just stopped and went back to the jig, but then I didn't catch, I may have accidentally caught one on one of these slobber knockers, but Charles was using a color not far off from that on a Z-Man original, and he was tearing them up. It had I don't even know the name of the color, but I'd say it looked similar to this, but it had just a black blade with a yellow head. And man, Charles, I think he caught more chatterbait fish than I did. He definitely caught more on a little square bill. Most of my damage was done on, I think the jigs. Once I got on, you know me, once I get on something, like once I get a color that I think works in a chatterbait, is the same kind of deal with the jig. Once I feel I got something going, I'll stick with that. And as long as it keeps getting the fish in, it's game on. We caught probably, I think me, Matt, and Maddie probably caught 30, maybe 10 or so each, somewhere around that mark, 30, 35 fish Saturday. Me and Charles had to have caught like 80 fish, 40 or so a piece. I mean, it was game on. A lot of them were little. I got a little tear there where I caught like 3 or 4, 2.5, 3 pounders all off of one little wooded area. Caught the one big one on a jerkbait, caught another big one on this bait. And then were you know, kind of going through baits, shaky heads. I think I even caught one on, I think probably my last buzzbait fish. It was a little dink, but I think I caught one on that. That's where I was kind of doing that extra little tuning, and I was like, I'm going to catch a buzzbait fish today. As good as it was working just a few weeks ago. And I think I caught one also when I was with Matt. But the buzzbait bite, it's done compared to what it was. And I mean, we had a lot of different baits. I think I finally caught one. The jabberjaw was not on. I think I finally mustered up one fish with the jabberjaw, but the deep diving jabberjaw was not on all weekend. So anyway, the other video is done uploading to my computer, or whatever you call it, exporting to the computer. Now I gotta upload it to Facebook, and you guys will be able to watch it. So make sure and check that one out. I don't know. I don't even know. I think these are their house brand. I don't know who makes these. Let me see if I got one that's not even, that's a brand new one. I'm gonna have to go buy some more. I got my last. Here's my most beat up one. And it still works. The skirt, actually, if you throw it around where there's less wood, because they're just $1. They're $1.99 up at Rogers. If you buy more than 10 or more, they're $1 a piece. So there's mine. They come with red eyes. They come in like this one, a peanut butter and jelly, and then just a more green. I've had them in several videos. So I've got one brand new one. I don't know, 3 or 4 old ones. That's my oldest nasty one that I haven't lost yet. But those little finesse jigs. But almost any little jig, and this is the time of year that I think anyway, the smaller jig will work a little better. Once it gets real cold, a lot of times it doesn't hurt to just go ahead and throw that big one. But I typically throw, when I feel there's a tough bite, which is usually when I'm throwing a jig or a shaky head, you know what I mean? I tend to downsize. That's where the BFS and all that stuff comes in. So if you're out there throwing chatterbaits and you're like, man, I'm gonna catch chatterbait fish and nothing seems to be working, a lot of times go to a micro chatterbait or even those little flashback minnows if you're wanting to catch chatterbait fish. But downsize somewhat, and same thing with the jig, you know, get smaller and smaller. I even have these little bitty jigs that I just didn't get too many different colored ones in there. You know, even this little crazy, I forget what they even call these, little peewee jigs or whatever from Jewel. So as far as the size, you know, you put a very little soft plastic on that. This, what I call well, not really me, but people call finesse jigs. I just call that my regular jig I use. You know, there's when you're getting into the real finesse stuff. That and even smaller, the little, oh, what do they call them? I can't even think of the name. The name's escaping me. But the little ones, the bitsy bugs. Like the little bitsy bugs, they tend to have a lot of, so they don't look a lot smaller, but they're a lot lighter. Put a little thing on there, they tend to drop a little slower if they're just fish. Once they get, you know, once that temps, like they are now, they're in that mid 50s. So they're still, the bite's still kind of on, but then once it gets 55 and lower, you're going to just start slowing down. I tend to downsize and take it easy. So anyway, guys, hopefully you liked the video, kind of caught a glimpse on what's going on. Finally on the rod and reels, Carbon Light 2.0s, they're legit. A couple quick reasons why I like them. They flat out work. They honestly, just the feel and the actions, and they work, and they're not only like functional, they feel good as far as it's that like wind grip type material. They look good, and they come, you know, you can go right to your bass. I can go right down the street here. It's not that far away. Pick them up if I need a new one or something, or if one breaks, they do. I'm pretty sure it's no matter what, it's a 10-year warranty with those rods. That's why I don't know. I'm going to try to, I've got the 6.6 medium light, and I've got the 6.9 medium heavy. I'll probably get the next one, probably in the week or two I'm going to get, even though I won't need it probably till next season. I probably am going to go ahead and buy the 7-foot medium moderate, just because they don't make it like a 6.9 or 6.10. I wish they kind of did, but I'm kind of to the point now where I'm going to start using some 7-foot rods. You may see me at some point with full lineup of the Carbon Lights in a 7-foot, because they make a 7-foot medium light, 7-foot medium moderate, 7-foot medium, 7-foot medium heavy, and then a 7-foot heavy. So you may at some point see me with those set, rigged up. Maybe just I'll take those like when I go fishing with Matt. I'm in a bigger boat, bigger bodies of water. I'll keep my 6.9 and my 6.6 medium light for when I'm in my boat kind of deal, but probably not. You might, but more likely you're just going to see me add a couple, probably a 7-foot heavy to take over in place of the big sexy, and then a 7-foot medium moderate for all my littler square bills, and just to get that extra distance. But 7 foot is still short enough. You can be fairly accurate with that. It's not as accurate as 6'6". But a 6'6", once you get past that medium light, I feel it's too short. I don't know. I just have that. What's weird though, I can go to 6'7", 8 or 9, and I'm like, okay, that's the right length. Just a few. I don't know. I know I'm weird. I'm extra sensitive to that kind of stuff, I guess. Now, as far, it has something to do with fishing, but not necessarily. It was cold on Sunday, and my fingers were cold and freezing cold, but they did not lose any, they didn't start turning white. I had been taking, I've talked about it before, those little, I think they're for like people that either have a heart condition or could have a heart condition. They're just a real little bitty aspirin, right? They're like a quarter stick aspirin, right? Not full dynamite. But I've been taking one of those a day because several people have commented. Emily was one of the first ones when we were out fishing. I'm like, look at my fingers. They were literally white. The tips were turning white and going up. And I couldn't feel anything. I'm like, they're dying. So she's like, take an aspirin a day. That'll keep that from happening. I'm like, I don't want to take an aspirin a day. But then I found these little whatever pills. So far so good. I don't know how much more cold weather I'm going to get out into, but that was what was stopping me. It would get, say, 55. I'm kind of like the bass. That below 55 degrees, for sure 50 degrees and less, like I couldn't really get out and fish because my hands wouldn't work right. So hopefully that fixed it. All right, guys, get out, go bass and bonsai. Whatever you do, keep your hands warm and keep on the bass. I'll see you guys later. Oh, I gotta eat this food. Oh yeah, we ate some bananas. Check out the video. It's coming up next. Check it out. We ate some bananas.